He's got bold plans to increase Nigeria's budgetary allocation to education by 22%. He wants to allocate 15% to health and address project padding in infrastructure execution. A is Engineer Yabagi Sanni, the presidential candidate of the Action Democratic Party. Welcome to Nigeria Beyond 2023. I am Yemisi Lanre-Idowu. This program is an economic chopping board of the agenda of every presidential candidate. It's a great opportunity to understand the policy plan of the ADP on a mission to provide the missing link to the untapped potentials of Nigeria. Now joining me on the chopping board today is Senior Economist, Impact Research, Proshare, Tosin. Also joining me is the Vice Presidential Candidate of the Action Democratic Party, Dr. Oke Udo. Now, let's get down to it. Let me start with the reality and what's happening in Nigeria today about the money swap, about how many Nigerians are queuing at the ATM stations just to get money. It is that bad. If you come into government today, your first day, what would you be doing to stem the tide?
Well, what we will do is to ensure that the dividend of democracy, number one, which is freedom, which is ease of doing business, which is also ability for people to, without much hassle, be able to go through their day-to-day activities. That's what democracy is all about. It's not about stifling the space or the systems or processes. That's not what democracy is all about. This is what you find in autocratic systems, where somebody just wakes up and then introduces policies without taking into consideration the adverse effects it may have on the nationals. That's not democracy. So we are going to ensure that Nigerians will experience what democracy is all about, which is, like I said, freedom for you to do what your inalienable rights, to be able to do your business without any hindrance. So our government is going to be the government of the people, which is what democracy is all about. And we are going to govern by rule of law. If we are doing anything, the law will be known to you. You can criticize, and then you will have no fear of anything or people coming after you for criticizing the government or our policies. So definitely, there won't be this kind of draconian situations that we are facing today.
All right, you see it as draconian. Yes, a lot of people would see it as draconian, but I want to get in clear terms what you would do with the monetary policy and the people there. In clear terms, what's your plan? Yes, you want people to have that freedom to access when it comes to businesses, but in clear terms, what would have been your plan?
Well, we will, from day one, align our monetary policies with our fiscal policies in a way that it will grow the economy and there will be no lopsidedness in whatever we are doing. For instance, you can see Nigerian Naira has become, such a almost worthless, in terms of what is supposed to achieve, for people. I mean, you now have to spend so much money to buy basic things. We won't allow that to happen because we know what to do. And what to do is to ensure that our crude oil earnings is not stolen in the manner it's being stolen today. You will not give subsidies to just few individuals, to steal. You won't allow Naira, to be subsidized in the manner it's been subsidized today, meaning that we allow our currency to float to an extent and introduce certain dampers, that is, things that will cushion the effect of, whatever the immediate, hardship that may come with such laws, such policies. So what I'm saying is that, unless we have a government that recognizes what is called empathy, and that means taking into consideration the feelings of your nationals, how your policy is going to impact on them. That's what government is all about. I said we are going to align our monetary policies with our fiscal policies. If you look at it critically, and Naira swapping is a political issue. Why should the central bank be drawn into political issues? Central bank is not supposed to be dabble into political, issues, because the political issues are for politicians. Those are fiscal policies, and the central bank is there to protect the interests of the nation. It's not the government of the day. So if the government of the day is saying, for political reasons, I want to do this, and it's going to affect your economy adversely, the central bank should have opposed it.
Okay, so it's a political issue, Dr. Yabagi, Engineer Yabagi, I beg your pardon. And you would say what the CBN governor has done is shrouded in secrecy and is beyond the reasons he gave for it.
The vice president came out to say it, Buhari himself said it, that they are doing it in order to come vote buying during 2023 elections. I mean, if vote buying, there are many other ways to tackle that. We should have done it long time ago. And if it was a good policy, why didn't Buhari introduce it when he was campaigning or contesting election in 2019? So we know he's doing it with the best of the intentions. You could have vote buying took place there too during that time. So the point I'm making is that we have everything muddled up. Our policy, monetary policy, is not so clear. It's so confused with political issues.
So
and that's why we're not getting it.
Engineer, this is ill-timed, you would say, what the CBN governor has done.
The timing is wrong.
So when you get into office, would you sack the CBN governor?
Oh, of course. I wouldn't have a CBN governor who is pursuing fiscal policies. Even the law that establishes CBN does not allow that. You are not supposed to be a politician, supposed to be a technocrat. It's supposed to be somebody that, in fact, will have nothing to, they shouldn't come too close to the government. He's not supposed to sleep in bed with Mr. President or with the federal government. That's not the intention of the act that established CBN. Everywhere, CBN, all over the world. The governors or the chairman of Federal Reserve Board, for instance, like in America, you don't find him running to Biden or all the time with Biden. No, there are two institutions. They are supposed to protect the interests of the nation, like I said. So I wouldn't have this kind of central bank governor in my administration.
So I turn to you, Tosin. He's going to sack the CBN governor once he gets into office. And what he has done, what the CBN governor has done is ill-timed. It has political undertone. As an economist, do you agree with what he has said?
When I was listening to him, the first thing that came to my mind is that what he's saying, you can only achieve it if you sack the CBN governor, as he has said. And but sacking the CBN governor, the CBN Act 2007 requires that he has the assent of the National Assembly, and of course, except the ADC, there are a number of ADC candidates in the National Assembly to assent that for him to be able to sack the CBN governor. But I must say that when he was talking about aligning the monetary policy and the fiscal policy, I wanted to say that in this particular administration, we often see the CBN governor with the president. It seems as if they had that close rapport. Yes, you can't dispel the fact that some of these things are politically motivated. And in fact, the question on whether this is credible or not has actually been influenced by the fact that the CBN governor had the intention or had the tendency of contesting for this position. And so that's why, of course, everybody is against this particular. If you ask him, definitely, we lay bare, he has a valid point in trying to do some of these things. Don't forget, we have kidnapping, demanding for money. We have some of the money stacked in some homes. So all of those, when you consider all of these things, and of course, we are approaching election, the intention also to deal with vote buying and all that, they are valid propositions. But yes, you could look at the antecedent of the CBN governor at this period, makes it look as if, oh, these things are quite political. And as he has said, yes, people have argued that line. But when you look at it, as I said, from the base, yes, this monetary policy has been there has been this integration between the fiscal policy and the monetary policy. CBN is meant to be independent. Let us not forget that it's an independent body. So it's not, there is little the executive can do It's only to assent to some of these things. And that's why I said, when I was talking, I said, the only option you achieve is to sack him. Because if you don't sack him, definitely he could go that this is the monetary policy, this is how we should do it, because that is his constitutional responsibility. So the option available for him, as he has said, is actually to sack him.
Well, to sack him, and you have said that you cannot also sack him without the assent,
of the
two-third
members
of
the National
Assembly. Well, so how would you do that then, Engineer Yabagi? You heard the Economist. Yes, you can sack him, but if you do not have the assent of the National Assembly and the two-third majority, how is that possible? Will the ADP be able to?
Under this situation, even the National Assembly will want to sack him. They've been looking for him. They invited him to come. They wanted him to come and to defend the political decisions they had made as a technocrat. So it's not only the president that, I mean, the executive. This in my own particular case. If the situation like this, even the National Assembly is not happy with what the CBN governor is doing. So you can see how bad it is. So it's very easy to sack this kind of CBN governor.
Can I chip that in? But you know then that we will have a new assembly as at that period. So again, it brings the fact that is that new assembly interested in sacking him?
That's a question that will be left for that time. All right, let's just move on that. Now, Engineer, according to your manifesto, an ADP government will leverage gas to drive Nigeria's energy transition from fossil fuel. I mean, that's very interesting. Looking at looking at the level of looking at our gas reserves, I mean, we have our gas reserves at over 180 million at the moment cubic feet. Nigeria ranks 9th globally. Our consumption is just over 600,000 cubic feet, and our production is just over 3 million cubic feet. I mean, we have a lot yet to be tapped when it comes to gas. So the question is, are you going to, how do you want to achieve this? How do you intend to achieve it? We need a clear answer to how you want to go about it. Yes, the government is doing something on that with a decade of gas plan. But would you want to build on that? Or do you have your own new plans? Share it with us.
You know, Nigeria's economy and specifically our oil and gas sector is a basket case. We have so much, financial leakages in that sector that any good policy you bring into it, it will just be a futility. I mean, exercise a futility. What am I saying? Look at what we are making even from the crude oil now today. Look at who has been able to account for what we are making from that. Nobody even knows how much we are making. So the issue, what our administration will start with, is sanitize that sector of the economy. We will concentrate on ensuring that transparency, accountability, good governance is entrenched, in a way that everybody will know that Nigeria has woken up from its slumber. Because you can't have a sector like this that God has made to serve your economy, and you operate it in such an arbitrary manner, and nobody is doing anything. Nobody is taking before the court. Naiti reports have shown that we're losing almost $5 billion every year for the court. So gas, yes, the whole world is looking for gas now, because the issue is that we want to leave fossil fuel to renewable energy, where Nigeria stands tall. If you look at it, we have sun, we have windmills, we have all these dams all over the place that can be used, to generate, electricity. And look at what we are doing. So from the transition period to the destination where the world wants to be, Nigeria stands tall. Because, like gas is the bridge between where we are today and where the world wants to be. That's why, given the scenario of Ukraine-Russian war, it has made gas to become even more precious commodity than it used to be. All of a sudden, everybody is looking at gas now as green. Before it was something that they didn't want to go near, but they have realized, the Europeans I'm talking about, they have realized that the other aspect of, the supply they were getting from Ukraine from Russia rather, has been stopped because of the war. So Nigeria has a chance now. Like you rightly said, we are a gas country, not oil and gas sector. Not a crude oil country. We're a gas country in the actual sense of it. And then look at what we are doing. Just to build AKK, which was going to cost us about $2.8 billion, we are not able to even conclude that in record time to take advantage of what is happening today. So our administration will leverage very, very effectively on these God-given advantage in terms of a comparative advantage with trade with other parts of the world, like oil and gas. So, and when you talk about even the fourth industrial revolution, which is going to be powered by information technology, look at our dynamic young population that we have, which is a precious asset that any country that has kind of the population that we have and the kind of age that we have. I'm talking about the young, the dynamic Nigerians that are so intelligent. A lot of money is chasing them, coming into this economy as investment. So what I'm making is that our administration, we are going to use 3 planks. That is energy transition, information technology, and climate change to connect with the world, because Nigeria plays big. And these 3 things that are trending today all over the world, the whole global trend in terms of the economic setting is about climate change, energy transition, information technology. We stand tall in all of that. In fact, we belong to number 1 if you look at it critically. So if you talk about population, we have. If you talk about gas, we have. You talk about renewable energy, we have. So you can see COP27 that just ended in Egypt talked about how they can help countries like Nigeria to now develop themselves, because to develop the infrastructure you require to transform gas to a commodity that you can sell in Europe is huge. But Europeans are ready to give us the trillions of dollars that you need so that you can build the infrastructure. If we solve the problem of insecurity, we solve the problem of theft, meaning corruption. Believe you me, Nigeria is there. We are going to be not only, in fact, among the 20 biggest economies in the world, but maybe we rupture that with even the G7, because we have what it takes. They don't have resources that we have, That's why they're coming here to take our resources, our raw materials, to build, to grow their economy. We are going to ensure that we take full advantage of that God has given to us.
Yeah, I'm glad to hear that you're going to take advantage of all the factors that are inherent, talking about the human capital factor, talking about all other, the gas itself and all of that. But I have not heard a clear-cut thing. Well, you said that you wouldn't want to continue with what this government has put in. And I know that the government is working on an energy drive at the moment. The minister actually informed me about that when I spoke with him the last time. But if it's going to start on a new drive, wouldn't it be futile what we have put in place? Because when the Ukraine and Russian war started, with so many European countries running to Nigeria, Portugal was even at the time so worried that, the plan, we've had an agreement with Nigeria, and it looks like Poland and some other countries are coming. Is it that they are going to cut down on what we have agreed initially? So, is it having a new drive that would solve this matter, or building on what is on ground?
Yeah, okay. I think it would be good, really, to just build on what is in place, given that we've called this decade a decade of gas, although the intervention of this particular government has not been so, the current government has not been so fruitful along that line. As he has said, there are many opportunities. I would like to go to, he has highlighted a number of opportunities along that line. But I personally would have wanted to see how they want to approach it. The ADP want to approach it differently. Although, as I said, but I would be expecting him to build on it. But I said I would have loved to see how they want to do it, because I know many parties are quick to say, we'll give interventions. I wanted to say there is an intervention currently on 250 billion intervention for gas. Now, what are we doing about it? We've not seen anything. So aside on that is on the supply side for the government to do. I think for me, really, if we will not achieve so much as we have claimed, despite all of this opportunity for gas, if we do not deal with the petrol issue. See, we are Nigerians. We love the cheaper energy source. Petrol now is relatively cheaper to all of these fuels. So you don't expect me, I own a car, to say I want to be using CNG that is still expensive compared to gas that is regulated at 165. Although, let's say the current issue now is causing another issue. But I'm saying that because the alternative is cheaper, definitely people will still want to tend towards that alternative. So if we want to deepen our use of gas, we need to deal with the alternative and make all these energy sources competitive. So when it is competitive, we'll be able to take hold of advantage along this line. But then, how did they want to approach it differently from what we have? Don't forget, this government, as I said, in terms of funding, they are doing it. In terms of saying let's commercialize our gas flaring, they are also rolling out plan. In fact, there is a bid that will come up very soon for how companies can buy into that. But the government, as I said, what approach will they use that is quite different from the existing approach that we have? That's what is important.
Engineer, I'm sure you have heard what the economist in the studio has said. How do you want to approach it? Okay, talking about consumption, before you even give me a reaction on how you want to approach it. Yes, Nigeria is consuming just over 600,000 cubic feet at the moment. And a 12 kg cylinder of gas as of today is about 10,000 Naira. So an average Nigerian with the minimum wage still at about 30,000 Naira. So please give us a plan, a clear plan on how you want to approach these matters.
Well, we are going to have a functional gas plan, national gas plan, that will take into cognizance the needs of the domestic consumption and will also ensure that gas flaring will be minimized, to the barest minimum, and will ensure that we have meters wherever we need to have them so that we can know exactly how much gas we are going to have. So for domestic issue, to also as to grow the domestic, the consumption domestically and also earn a lot of revenue from the international market, it's something that we will ensure that we bring out a policy, which will be aligned with other other countries that have, are today, are taking full advantage of what God has given to them, in terms of gas. So specificity as to what we are going to do by pricing and things like that, or it's a matter of details. But I think we are going to have a national gas policy plan that will address some of all these inadequacies, which are not supposed to be there. Because Nigeria, like we're a blessed country. We have experts, technocrats, people that can really, if given the chance, will turn things around for this country.
We would have loved to hear those details, engineer. Those details are very key because that's what your supporters would want to hear at this moment. Nigerians are groaning. Would have want to hear something like subsidizing the people themselves, the individuals themselves. If you look at other climes, the United Kingdom, that's what they are doing at the moment. Not subsidizing the gas industry, not subsidizing the marketers, but subsidizing every individual to be able to...
Subsidy, like we have always said in our policies, even the PMS, that is the petrol that we give subsidy, we say we're not going to give subsidy to middlemen. Even the subsidy we give today, we are giving to middlemen. People will bring vessels, empty ones, and then submit fake bill of lading, and then go away with our billions of naira of Nigerian sovereignty. So the point I'm making is that we are going to ensure that we have a functional, result-oriented, gas plan, such that the nationals would benefit. That's what I say about domestic consumption, and also in a manner that it will be affordable, because you don't punish your people, when in the midst of plenty. That's what is happening in Nigeria. So you don't need, these are not rocket science things now. These are things that you can easily do, because it's a situation in this country that governance has been left, to anybody's imagination. So, and that we are not going to tolerate. We are not going to continue that way. Once you have a purposeful government that engages with the people, that recognizes merit, that rewards, performance. I mean, Nigeria, it's a promise of greatness for them, like so we all know what is happening, and we know how to tackle these problems. We know that the problems are huge, but they are man-made. They are things that we can easily solve. That's the issue. What I'm talking about.
All right. At this point, let's take a break. When we come back from this break, we'll be looking at your plans for the ICT, Information Communications Technology. You have made some plans, but we'll roll that out after this break. Do stay with us. Glad to have you back. You're watching Nigeria Beyond 2023. I've been speaking with the presidential candidate of the Action Democratic Party, Engineer Yabagi, Yusuf Sanni. Also with me in the studio is Tosin Engr with Proshare. All right, just before we went on that break, the conversation had been on the monetary policy, on the issues with Naira redesign as well as money swap. We also spoke about the ADP's plan on gas and energy transition. Now, let's turn our attention to ICT. Engineer, I was saying that when you come into office, your plan is to adapt to the fourth industrial revolution by way of deploying emerging technologies in all spheres of the economy. How do you plan to do that? Looking at what's on ground at the moment, we see the autonomy. For example, the telecom industry, we see that there is an autonomy there and so many things are working. But with all other spheres, what's your plan?
Well, the issue is that ICT, like everything in the world today is going ICT in the sense that you need speed, you need efficiency in terms of cost, and you also need, above all, the sustainability of whatever you are doing and recourse. So we are going to leverage on the existing technology, introduce things like AI, that is artificial intelligence, ensure that we have a central database where the agencies of the government will be connected to, and then you will not have, under that environment, the kind of corruption that we are battling with today in this country, because it's about sharing information. Let me take you to the oil and gas sector, because that's where we make the bulk of our money, and that's where the other sectors of the economy really drives their input in terms of funding, in terms of other things that is required. You talk about agriculture, you talk about education, health. You need money to grow those sectors. Necessarily, of course, you need to grow them. But the issue, until you are able to deal with the issue of corruption, and the most effective way to deal with corruption is to introduce and leverage on centralization of information, data, so that anybody that needs to know will have the information at the tips of his fingers. And that is happening already in most of so-called developed economies. And in Nigeria, there's no way we cannot do that. What I'm saying is that various agencies of government today, are collecting revenues, which shouldn't be the case. And when they collect this revenue, even with the TSA that was introduced, I'm talking about a single treasury account that was introduced, it is still garbage in, garbage out, because you are not able to effectively man the collection itself. It's what they report that is transferred into the central bank. What about if they are reporting 1% of what they are collecting? How do you know? So you have to have a system that from the back end and front end is totally automated, and it's a system where everybody will now take their data. meaning like the oil and gas sector I talked about, it will be such a system that what we are producing, what we are selling, what we have in the reserves, what we have in the tank farms, all the information will be available to all that other agencies of government that needs to know what is happening in that sector of the economy, and ditto other sectors of the economy. So you can see, I keep talking about oil and gas sector because a nation like Nigeria, with over 200 million people, and today we are battling with poverty at a level that shouldn't be, over 103 million, according to official figures, are battling with multi-dimensional poverty. Why is that happening? It's happening because government is least informed about what is happening in the key sectors of the economy. So for the government to be informed, and then, information is power. So for government to be able to exercise the power given to government, to preside over the affairs of the people, you must have a way of having this information and let it be centralized, let it be distributed so that people cannot connive, people cannot now, collude and cheat the country. So that's why information technology, even from the standpoint of the government, it's a necessity, and it's not rocket science, like I said. People today are operating even from garages. I mean, from their houses, are using internet. They are using information technology to run their businesses. So how come the whole nation's economy is run manually? That's what is happening today, especially when you look at the oil and gas sector. Look at our solid mineral, sector. Those are the sectors that are supposed to power the economy of this country. We have to introduce ICT in those sectors. Then the issue of new techs, our young ones, what they are doing. Our administration will ensure that we encourage them, by way of making loans, certain facilities available to them, making sure that we connect them with the international community so that people who are investing today will increase, because we are making a huge sums of money from the talent of these young ones. So there's a huge potential there, and the opportunities are so many that we have no business with poverty. If you allow the kind of high employment situation we have in this country to go on, it's a time bomb, like and we cannot afford it when we have, ability to provide, for the young ones to be engaged, effectively and productively. So that's why we said we are going to leverage on the issue of information technology, which in fact the whole world, like I said, we want to connect, the Nigerian economy with the international, the global economy.
Yes, engineer. Data is very critical if Nigeria has to move forward, and getting the right data seems to be a very, very serious issue with us in Nigeria. Having the database, he has talked about central database. I think that's a critical point in the development of Nigeria and growth of Nigeria. At the moment, ICT sector alone accounts for about 18% of the GDP. And it's just one of the sector that provides just a double-digit rate or growth for Nigeria. Now he's talked about central database. He's talked about AI. How can we deploy this? Do you support what he has said? Would it work for a country like Nigeria? Where do we even begin from?
Okay. I think centralized data system will work, but then we need to also limit the data access. The data privacy issue is there. And I must say that if he says they are going to leverage this data thing, I think it should begin with the government, because we have seen, I think he alluded to that somewhere along the line, that they are going to do that, which is quite commendable, because yes, people, individual companies are leveraging on this ICT innovations development, but where we see it lagging more is with the government. Many of the government processes are still manual. So that again, but I must say also that we have so much data in our system here in Nigeria. Here's what I mean. We register for driver licenses stored digitally. We have PVC, we have NIM, we have
we have those data available.
Have all of those data are available, different, segregated. That's why I said when they say they are going to maybe integrate it, yes, it is a good one, but then there will be levels to data access. That's why we see in other climates where those, maybe there will be agency, there will be limit to what each agencies will do. Because as government, if ADP is in government, there's a limit at the central level to how they can man everybody in different organizations. But then if there is an agency, maybe the call agency, have access to all the data, and then going down along that line, there are limits to what access they could have. People will trust the system, and of course, things would even be properly managed. But I feel, really, I think, for me, I think they need to only build on what is existing. Because yes, I've seen this administration, the digital economy, in fact, they just passed that bill. They are good one, but I feel it's still always lacking in terms of integrating all of them. Somebody was talking about the PVC now. Why are we using PVC again to vote when we have all this NIM, we have all of these where we can use? We just keep registering everything. So they are already in ground. I think what they can do, as he has said, unify it, find a way to integrate all this system, and then, as I said, put them into levels of accessibility so that we won't have this bridge of data, because data privacy is very important.
Data privacy. Engineer, you were talking about the Gen Z, the Generation Z, and their level of activity on the social media. We see that on a daily basis. And I think that's one area that the government is lacking, tapping into the potential of that energy. Tell me in clear terms, explicitly, what you want to do. How do you intend to tap into that energy of this generation using ICT?
Yeah, particularly in Nigeria, we've been having this new tech, innovations, discoveries, and what have you, as a result of the high level of intelligence which our young people, have. And for that reason, like I said earlier, some billions of dollars are coming into this economy as an investment into those new techs, development. So definitely, Nigeria is a ready-made, believe me, country for that kind of boom. Because I call it a boom because it's what the world needs. If you look at what others are doing with their population, human capital is the most precious asset that you have. What remains now is how do we apply it, which is what is the question you're asking. How we apply it is to key into the global economic setting, ensure that we can, like India and the other countries are doing with their nationals. They are the ones working. You have them in Silicon Valley and what have you. Most these Nigerians, these technologies. I'm talking about the information technology and this IT and innovations that you find even in the world. I'm not talking about particularly Nigeria, globally. It's being powered by mostly Indians, and Nigerians are also coming forward in terms of being very resourceful in those areas. So what I'm saying is that we will have a special funds that we are going to set aside to promote this area of our economy, which is the one that is inexhaustible, because anything that you do based on human capital, developing your people, that is the fastest way to grow, the nation. Once you give education, give skill acquisition, and then give encouragement to some of these things I've mentioned in terms of new ideas, new texts and things like that. So it's a gold. How do you say it? It's a gold mine. It's something that I'm sure, if you have the right kind of leadership, which we are coming to provide, we will really, believe me, become a force to reckon with. We are already a force to reckon with. We are a sleeping giant, like everybody has said.
All right, you said something now, engineer. You said something about having a special fund for that sector, and I'm looking at what you plan to do when you say you will drive a private sector-driven economy. Should it be the business of government to be setting up fund for that, or you would leverage on the private sector to build that sector, ICT?
No, but even so-called developed economies like America and whatever. They have special intervention funds, globally also, for in order to ensure that the economy performs at its maximum efficiency. You need to introduce some funds, that are given like grants, if you like, so that certain sectors of the economy that on their own may not be able to develop at the pace that you want, will be able to now fast track, So that's what we are going to do. It's not that definitely, like you said, we believe more in private sector driven economy, because with private sector driven economy, you don't have all these slacks that we have today in our economy. I mean, this inflation, high level of inflation, high employment in the midst of plenty. How do you explain that? That we have cases of billions of naira of our money, in some cases even dollars, being stolen, and nothing happens. So it's because you are not coordinated in a manner. Your economy is in the hands of those that have little or no stake, in the performance of the economy itself. The civil servant gets even promoted when the economy retrogress. When they don't base their promotions and salaries on performance. So that's why we are retrogressing at the rate we are. So we have to quickly, transform this economy into a private sector driven economy, so that some of the issues we are battling with will be a thing of past. Like we have always said, a government is as strong as its regulatory agencies. That's why we're going to bring in private initiatives into regulatory agencies. They're not going to be run by civil servants. No, civil servants are not the people that are suited to run some of these agencies, because they are productive centers. If you look at them, if you look at centers like FIRS, you look at even some of the agencies that are in midstream and downstream regulatory agencies. You look at even Nigerian Electricity Regulatory Agency. You look at such agencies, they are supposed to be run by people that are business oriented, that have this aggressiveness in them, that look at things from the point of view of, maximizing, efficiency in terms of time that you spend, in terms of resources you put in, and in terms of the cost benefit analysis of what you are doing. Government doesn't do that, and that's why we are backward as we are. That's why I talk about information technology being employed and trying to see how we can fast track the issue of attracting the business community into running some aspects of the government itself.
All right. Let me get a perspective from our economist in the studio here. Many of those candidates have been talking about setting up funds, and which he talked about. And he also says here that they're going to have a private sector driven economy. Setting up a fund in the ICT sector, is that a way to go, especially for ICT?
Yeah, I think it will work, and I think it's the way to go. Here's the thing. Is human capital development. You actually need that human capital development. Don't forget we're saying that Nigerian educational system, we're not where we're supposed to be. So we need to also be looking at technical education. So when you are investing in ICT, you are actually making those technical investments, because don't forget, they are not textbook lectures that they are going to be giving them there. They are core activities in how to develop tech, all of these things. So making investment in the ICT, I feel definitely is actually the way to go. But the problem we may ask is, where are we going to get the fund? And of course, that will be another conversation. And of course, we know, look around, actually in the ICT itself, it can be self-funded. There are opportunities to actually generate money. I was actually going to say that.
So how does the private sector come in?
There are opportunities to get money from that particular sector. But of course, I'm sure the ADP is aware of that. And I think their private sector model too is actually the way to go. We have actually been recommending this, yes, that all of these government inefficiencies will always undermine policy. So if you go the route of private sector, and I love the fact that he said even the oil and gas, the power sector, these are sectors that are critical to the economy that we do not need the public sector to run. Private sector will work. Really.
Private sector will work. Let's round up on this, engineer. Let me ask you this last question. We talked about funding and all of that. How would you begin to source for funds? The budget, we've seen the budget.
like I told you, look, take for instance this issue of climate change and this other things surrounding it, and even this information technology. Even United Nations, has a lot of funds, intervention funds, to fast track development of weak economies like Nigeria.
So how would your government source for funds?
No, we'll key into it. Look at the just concluded COP27 count that in Egypt. They talk about having about is it $1 trillion or something like that that is used to help in mitigating the effect of the climate change and things like that on countries like Nigeria and other African countries that are battling with the degradation that comes from the global warming. So also in other areas, you have the sustainable goal development, funds that are there, trillions of dollars. Believe you me, it's just for the country to get our act right. We know how to access these funds. Even Africa Development Bank, where I do one of our I think it is, who is heading the president, they have funds. They have established, I think, about $400 billion, or $1 billion, they say, I don't know, that is aimed at helping African countries, which then, and when you talk about African countries, you're talking about Nigeria. So these intervention funds are available. It is for the government to articulate its programs and then show that you want to give it to private sector. They are even more interested in giving such funds directly to the private sectors, to handle. But it will come at the instance of the government of that.
So let me get you with what you have said now. Let me get your position on taxation. Would you be taxing or would you be reviewing the tax policies?
Tax is something that you use, to advance the progress of the economy, and in some cases it becomes counterproductive if you tax too much. In Nigeria, what is happening? We have multitude of fees that people are paying, that businesses are paying. That's why I say we're going to streamline all these things and make sure that once you have a central database, you will not have multiplicity of taxes that we're having today, as it is. So tax is something you use to grow the economy. You don't use it to stifle the economic progress. So we are going to look at the taxation in Nigeria and align it, because today a lot of taxable areas are outside the tax nets. We're going to expand the tax nets, and then by the time you expand the tax nets, you may even find that you discover that you reduce the amount of tax because you have more people now that are captured into the tax net, and then the amount that each agency or this is paying will be low.
Thank you so much for your time. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Yes, you want to react to that last statement?
Yes,
so we'll
I want to say that first, depending on international funding, may be limited, and of course, it comes with conditions. So you do not. I'm not confident with relying so much on grants from all of these countries. And of course, when you also talked about the tax too, that we really need to expand our tax base, will generate money. But then I would have loved to see more innovative way to actually generate money. If you say this particular government have been talking about expanding the tax base, but we see that they end up actually increasing tax. You see the excise duty they are imposing, all of these tax. But what they said was that they were going to increase the tax base. So we would have loved to see more innovative way, because, you can't just, these are political manifestos.
So it's a no-no when it comes to sourcing for funds through foreign.
Depending on those foreign multinational organizations for funding, is targeted. And so it may be difficult along that line. If they say they are bringing in 1 trillion, as he said, maybe there is a condition attached to it that maybe it's one company there that will bring that the project into the company, okay, maybe partnering with a Nigerian company, but eventually you see that Nigerians may say, oh, what they are even doing, where there's still forex issues because the majority of the stake is owned by those foreign companies, repatriation will be a problem, so eventually they may They say they are leaving the country. So all of those things often come with conditions that they are not free money anyway. That's what I'm trying to say.
They are
and
not
of course,
free.
they are not free. And taxes too comes
So
with its own
we
issues.
can be assured.
So
in
we
that
need
way.
innovative ways to generate
Innovative
more.
ways. I must say thank you so much, Tosin, for your time on the program. Thank you. And that's it on this edition of Nigeria Beyond 2023. But just before we go, here are key takeaways from that conversation. We told you that there is the need for clarity in leveraging gas for energy transition, improve efficiency in the petroleum and mining industries through technology, and understand the ADP's plan to fund the ICT sector, and a definite decision to sack the CBN governor if elected into office. But of course, there was no clarity around what they will do when it comes to funding to source many of the projects that they have talked about. And that's it. Join us for another interesting conversation on this program as we continue to engage on these issues and the manifestos of political parties. I am Yemisi Lanre-Idowu. See you again.